This... Oh boy. Oh boy. This is so incredibly boring, if it's true. Like, it's so boring, if it's true. Do you guys want to know why this is so boring? I feel like I haven't talked about this in a while, but I really miss when Genshin character synergies were not explicit. And I don't mean explicit as in, like, not safe for work. I mean explicit as in, like, written into the kit. If they want to make explicit synergies in terms of, like, I don't know, characters fucking or whatever, I don't care. They can do what they want. But explicit synergies like this are so boring. They're so boring. Varka is official side grade if this is Nicole's kit. Thoughts? I don't know. Like, what makes Varka bad isn't that his kit is inherently completely awful, right? It's that we have a character with a kit that is basically designed to be the target of buffs, right? Varka has very little self-buffing capabilities, and what that generally means is the character is going to synergize with buffs better than characters that do self-buff. But the problem is that his buff options kinda suck, right? When you look at a character like Skirk, for example, Skirk is designed in a similar way. She doesn't really have... And yeah, the times 2.2 thing on Varka, it's not a stat buff. It's a true multiplier, right? Him having a times 2.2 on his kit is the same as if each of his individual numbers were just 2.2 times bigger. Right? That's different from self-buffs. When I talk about self-buffs, I mean a character's ability to increase their own stats in a way that will dilute external buffs. Like Hu Tao, for example. Hu Tao's skill gives her a lot of attack, and it makes external attack buffs much less impactful. The only self-stat buff that doesn't really dilute things that much is crit. That's why when you look at characters like Varessa, right? Varessa self-buffs her attack, and her best in slot artifact set gives her a lot of damage percent. None of it is crit, right? So she is a character that synergizes a little bit less well with external buffs. Comparatively, Varka's self-buff with the damage percent is not that big, and the self-attack buff from the set bonus he uses is alright, but it's not like... The set isn't balanced around only the attack, it's balanced around the fact that it gives attack and crit. Crit is only the way it is because we still lack crit buffing from characters' kit. That's not entirely true, though. Because the value of crit doesn't really get diluted until you have so much fucking crit already. Anyways, the thing about Varka is that when you look at his team restrictions and his buff options, the fact that he's forced to bring a second Anemo makes Durin kind of awful. Because Durin is a character that's balanced, like, support Durin, right? The Durin that you kind of have to use in Varka teams because you're not bringing Hydro Cryo. Support Durin is balanced around his Shred. That's the main thing he's providing to the team. The thing is, in Varka teams, you're forced to bring a second Anemo unit anyways. So you already have Shred because VV is just so powerful that even with Durin, VV is still better than your other set options. And it makes it so that Durin's kit becomes kind of redundant, and the amount of buff provided is relatively small. And for a character like Varka, that is a good... that can receive buffs pretty well, that's unfortunate. Will Klee be better than Varka? No, probably not. Like, here's the thing, alright? As much as Varka isn't a very good unit, Varka isn't a very good unit within Nodcry. Right? We have to understand, alright? Columbina kind of broke the game in terms of the remaining shred of balance. And like, unironically, you look at the Nodcry characters without Columbina, and they're not even that far ahead of current Varka. So like, if Nicole is very powerful, Varka could end up in a pretty good spot. Are you blaming Columbina when the problem is Inefa and Llama? I mean, don't get me wrong, I agree that the problem is Inefa and Llama a bit more than Columbina, but in a world where Columbina doesn't exist, Inefa and Llama aren't as big of of a design nightmare, right? Inefa and Llama were released in a game state where Hydro options for lunar teams sucked ass. And if it stayed that way, then it would have been fine. I know should have been stronger, yeah, but like, yeah, it is what it is. It's like, Inefa and Llama were, on release, unrealized balance issues. They were incredibly broken characters that couldn't show how broken they were because the team wasn't complete. And Columbina's release is what revealed the issue. Before Linnea is the best team still technically Mavuika? Kinda, yeah. I'd say that it's between Mavuika and Nefer. But I would personally lean more towards Mavuika. Though I could understand someone saying it's Nefer. I don't think that's an unreasonable take. I mean, fuck, I could even understand Flynn's or Zabai, for that matter. Like, if you really want to push it, maybe even Skirk. But that one's I'm a little bit more iffy on. The only thing that Skirk has over the other four is she's a character that gets countered the least by the least amount of things. But, like, you can make the argument that Overload Mavuika also has that upside. Like, Melt Mavuika does get countered a bit more, but Overload Mavuika kind of doesn't, and Overload Mavuika is still just stronger than Skirk. Mavuika's kind of scuffed at a lower skill level, yeah. That's the biggest thing working against her. You need to be better at the game. Like, Brain Dead Skirk gameplay is a lot better than Brain Dead Mavuika gameplay. Mavuika Melt is also fucked by Ping. Yes and no. It's really not that bad with Citlali. But it gets Omega cooked with Rosario Archaea. I think if you don't have Citlali, you should just play Vape. Bro, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like the only reason to play Vape is if you don't have Citlali or Chevreuse. Because if you have either of them, yeah. Don't play Vape. Vape Mavuika is fake as hell. Yeah, or because the boss forces you to. That's fair. What happened with Vape anyways? Combo optimization happened. You can't optimize combos in Vape because you don't have enough Hydro App. The pre-buffered charge attack combos don't trigger Yelan or Singto Burst. And Farina app is just way too bad. So you basically have to play no combo Mavuika. Just like C2D or something. Which isn't like unplayable, but it is a lot worse. Can you do Columbina? It has the same problem. It's just too slow. Do you really think that Columbina was the one that ruined the... No, I'm not saying that, like, Mavuika wasn't a problem, right? The point I'm making is, if Varka came out in his current state, post-Mavuika, without any of the non-cry stuff, it would have been fine. Right? When Mavuika was still an outlier, characters at the current power... at the power of current Varka are like, okay. But she's not an outlier anymore. How bad is Varka without Durin? Durin is not that impactful to Varka, but if these leaks are true, he will become more impactful. Because part of why Durin isn't that good is because he gets basically none of the buffs from Varka's teams. What was I saying? Yeah, basically he doesn't get Bennett buff. He doesn't get a lot of value from Venti. And his shred is diluted by the VV. So if he's not doing any damage, then he's kind of worthless. With with Nicole, if she is a team-wide attack and damage buffer, he will actually start doing a reasonable amount of damage, which will be a lot more impactful. Right, like, just looking at Varka damage difference, because you would likely be getting more damage percent. I guess it's 35, true. Whatever. Yeah. Just looking on Varka damage difference, it honestly basically stays the same. Right? But you're getting so much more damage on Durin. Right? Like, Varka DPS, assuming these buff values, doesn't go up by that much, right? It's only 9%. But Durin DPS goes up by 70%. So if you aren't bringing the Durin, if you don't have Durin on this team, how much is Nicole giving you? Well, instead of the about 20% team-wide buff you would be getting, you're getting 10%, right? Obviously, this is a lot of approximations and all that, but the point I'm making here is Nicole is more impactful with Durin, and Durin is more impactful with Nicole. Which I fucking hate, honestly. Like, I hate that shit. That's awful. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Fuck. That sucks. Also, I kind of wonder if Durin carry would just beat Varka with stuff like that. Your C6 mono with Durin will out DPS Varka? I do wonder.